Have you ever had an idea, a really good one, but felt like you didn't have the authority to act on it? Have you ever seen a better way to do something, but stayed quiet because you weren't the boss? Let me ask you this. Do you really need a title to be a leader, mother? You see, leadership has nothing to do with authority. It has everything to do with influence, with courage, and most importantly, with service. Some of the most powerful leaders I've met never had a fancy title. They didn't wait to be told what to do. They led by example. They lifted others up. They asked better questions. They created trust, even in the smallest moments. Today, I want to talk to the ones who feel invisible, to those who are not in charge, but have the heart to lead anyway. Because leadership is not about being in power. It's about being in power. It's about being for people. And if we can learn to lead when we're not in charge, we'll be ready when we are. Leadership is a mindset, not a title. This simple yet powerful idea challenges everything we've been taught about what it means to lead. From a young age, we're conditioned to associate leadership with position, rank, or authority. We look up to managers, CEOs, presidents, the people at the top, as the true leaders. And in doing so, we often miss the quiet, consistent, everyday leadership that happens all around us by people who hold no official title at all. The truth is, anyone can lead. Leadership is not reserved for those who sit at the head of the table. It's for those who care enough to step up when something needs to be done. It's for the ones who ask, "How can I help?" instead of saying, "That's not my job." It's for the ones who take responsibility without being asked, who see a problem and choose to be part of the solution. That's leadership. That's leadership. And it begins in the mind. When we adopt a leadership mindset, we stop waiting for permission. We stop waiting for the promotion, the recognition, or the authority. We recognize that leadership is not about being in charge. It's about being committed to something greater than ourselves. It's about choosing to act with integrity, compassion, and courage, regardless of whether or not we get the credit. This mindset shift is transformative. Imagine being in a room full of people who all believe they need a title to lead. No one speaks up. No one takes initiative. Everyone is waiting. Now imagine a single person in that room decides to take ownership, not because they have to, but because they choose to. That person instantly becomes a leader, not in the eyes of hierarchy, but in the eyes of the people around them. Because leadership is not a function of power. It is a function of purpose. In any organization, there are people who have authority and people who have influence. The two are not the same. You don't need to be the boss to inspire others. You don't need a corner office to create impact. Influence comes from consistency, authenticity, and a genuine desire to contribute. People follow those who make them feel seen, heard, and valued. They follow those who show up, not just for results, but for relationships. One of the most powerful examples of this comes from the world of customer service. Think about the person at the front desk of a hotel. They don't write the policies. They don't make the rules. But they are often the face of the entire organization. They have the power to make or break a guest's experience through their attitude, empathy, and willingness to help. That's leadership in action. No title, no power, just impact. The same is true in classrooms, in families, in teams, and in communities. Leadership is often quiet. It's not always about grand speeches or bold decisions. Sometimes it's about asking the right question. Sometimes it's about offering support when no one else does. Sometimes it's just about showing up with consistency and care. Adopting the leadership mindset means letting go of excuses. It means refusing to play the victim. It means understanding that while you may not be responsible for everything, you are always responsible for how you choose to respond. That responsibility is the foundation of leadership. Because leaders don't point fingers, they point the way forward. And here's the most liberating part. You don't have to wait to start. You don't have to climb the ladder first. You don't need a business card that says a manager or a director or executive. You can lead today, right where you are, with what you have. With what you have. The only requirement is the willingness to think differently, to see yourself not just as an employee, a student, a team member, or a follower, but as a leader in your own right. When we embrace this mindset, we begin to see every challenge as an opportunity to lead. To lead. Every moment of frustration becomes a chance to model patience. Every disagreement becomes a platform for empathy. Every task, no matter how small, becomes a canvas for excellence, because leadership isn't something we turn on when we get the position. It's something we live out daily in the way we carry ourselves, treat others, and pursue our purpose. The people who make the biggest impact in life are rarely the ones chasing titles. They are the ones who choose to lead in the moments that matter, without waiting to be told, without needing to be seen. Leadership is a mindset. It is the decision to rise when others sit back, to speak when others stay silent, and to act when others hesitate. It is not about where you sit on the org chart. It's about where you stand in the face of responsibility. Influence begins with trust. This simple yet profound truth is at the heart of effective leadership, especially when you're not in charge. Without trust, influence becomes nothing more than manipulation, and leadership becomes empty. Trust is the invisible thread that connects us, binds us to our purpose, and empowers us to bring others along with us on our journey. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. And without it, even the most well-crafted plans and strategies fall apart. When you think about the people who've had the most influence on your life, it's likely not because they had the best ideas or the most authority. It's probably because you trusted them. Trust isn't just about having confidence in someone's ability to do a job. It's about believing in their character, their values, and their commitment to you. It's about knowing that their words match their actions and that they genuinely have your best interests at heart. Without this, no amount of authority, position, or power can make someone a true leader. In the absence of a formal title, the most effective leaders are those who earn trust through their actions. They don't expect people to trust them just because of what's printed on their business card or how many years they've been in a company. They know that trust is something that must be built over time, through consistent behavior, reliability, and empathy. When you act with integrity, others begin to trust you. When you demonstrate care and concern for others, you create a space where people feel safe and valued. It is through these actions that influence is born. One of the most powerful ways to build trust is by showing vulnerability. Far from making you seem weak, vulnerability humanizes you. It shows that you are not above others, that you face the same challenges, fears, and doubts as they do. When leaders demonstrate vulnerability, they invite others to connect with them on a deeper level. And they create an environment where people feel comfortable being themselves, sharing their ideas, and expressing their concerns. This openness fosters trust, and trust creates the conditions for influence to flourish. When you aren't in charge, the ability to influence others without the use of authority becomes even more critical. Without a title to give you power, you must rely on your ability to form authentic relationships, to inspire others, and to gain their respect through your actions. Influence comes from the way you listen, the way you understand, and the way you respond. People are more likely to follow someone they trust because they believe that person has their best interests at heart, and that their actions are guided by principles, not self-interest. Trust also requires consistency. It's easy to be trustworthy when things are going well, but the true test of trust is how you act in difficult times. When things get tough, that's when your integrity is tested. If you stay calm under pressure, if you remain supportive and encouraging, if you do what you said you would do, even when it's hard, then you demonstrate that your leadership isn't dependent on circumstances. It's a part of who you are. In moments of uncertainty, when others may be looking for someone to help them navigate through challenges, it's your consistency and unwavering commitment that will make them trust you more. Influence is also strengthened when you empower others. True leaders don't hoard influence. They spread it. They give others the chance to lead, to share their voice, and to step up in their own way. When people feel empowered, they feel trusted. And when they feel trusted, they are far more likely to trust you in return. Empowerment builds a cycle of trust that continues to grow and strengthen, making it possible for those who don't have a formal position of authority to lead effectively. Another aspect of trust is transparency. In any relationship, whether professional or personal, being transparent with others fosters a deeper connection. People respect leaders who are open and honest about their thoughts, decisions, and intentions. When you share your reasoning behind choices, explain the bigger picture, and involve others in the decision-making process, you're inviting them into your world. You're showing them that you trust them to understand the bigger vision. This transparency fosters a sense of partnership where everyone feels involved, valued, and respected. Furthermore, trust is built on reciprocity. If you want others to trust you, you must first show that you trust them. Leaders who exhibit trust in their teams, colleagues, or peers create an environment of mutual respect and collaboration. When you give trust, you encourage others to return it, strengthening the bonds between you and those around you. This dynamic is particularly important when you're not in charge because it sets a tone of cooperation, where influence is shared and decisions are made collaboratively. Ultimately, influence without trust is an illusion. Influence that isn't rooted in trust can lead to short-term gains, but it will never produce lasting impact. Leadership that depends on power and authority will crumble when that power is questioned. True influence, on the other hand, is built on the bedrock of trust, and it lasts long after the title or position fades away. It transcends titles and organizational structures. It comes from being genuine, empathetic, and committed to the well-being of others. And it can be cultivated by anyone, whether you're in charge or not. Serve before you lead. This simple yet powerful principle holds the key to leadership at any level, particularly when you're not in charge. It challenges the conventional view that leadership is about taking control, making decisions, or asserting authority. Instead, it shifts the focus to something deeper. Leadership isn't about being the boss. It's about being of service to others, helping them reach their full potential, and ensuring that the collective vision is realized. The best leaders are those who understand that their role is not to be served, but to serve. They recognize that true leadership comes from a place of humility and a genuine desire to contribute to the success of others. In a world where titles, power, and control are often seen as the ultimate measure of leadership, serving others can seem counterintuitive. But it is precisely this selfless approach that makes the difference between a manager and a leader, between someone who simply has authority and someone who has influence. When you choose to serve first, you create an environment of trust, respect, and collaboration. People naturally want to follow those who show that they care more about the team's success than their own. This act of service fosters a sense of loyalty and commitment that cannot be built through force or coercion. People feel valued when they are supported, when their needs are heard, and when their success is prioritized. As a result, they are more likely to put in the effort and follow your lead, not because they have to, but because they want to. In the absence of a formal position of power, service becomes an even more important tool for influence. When you're not in charge, your ability to lead effectively depends on your willingness to put others first, to lift them up, and to create an environment where everyone feels empowered to contribute. By choosing to serve, you break down the traditional barriers of hierarchy and instead create a space where everyone's voice is heard and everyone's contribution is valued. This collaborative approach builds a culture of mutual respect where leadership is shared and where everyone has the opportunity to lead in their own way. Serving others also means being attentive to their needs. It means listening carefully, observing the dynamics of the group, and understanding where you can make the most impact. A servant leader is one who is not only aware of the big picture, but also the small details that contribute to a team's success. Whether it's offering encouragement, providing resources, removing obstacles, or simply being a sounding board, service involves doing whatever is necessary to help others succeed. This could mean stepping back and letting someone else take the spotlight, or stepping forward to fill a gap when needed. It's about doing what needs to be done, without concern for recognition or reward. When you choose to serve first, you also demonstrate empathy and compassion. You show that you understand the challenges others face, that you are there to support them, and that their well-being is important to you. This empathy builds deep connections and fosters a sense of camaraderie. People are more likely to trust and follow someone who understands their struggles and is willing to help them overcome those challenges. By putting yourself in others' shoes, you show that you are not only capable of leading, but that you care deeply about the journey they are on. Furthermore, serving others before you lead requires selflessness and a focus on the collective good. It means putting the needs of the team, the organization, or the community ahead of personal ambitions or desires. This selflessness creates a culture of cooperation and mutual respect. It sends a message that leadership is not about power or control, but about creating an environment where everyone can thrive. This mindset transforms the way teams function, as it shifts the focus from individual success to collective success. Serving before you lead also requires humility. It involves recognizing that you don't have all the answers and that you are not infallible. It means being open to others' ideas and acknowledging that leadership is a shared responsibility. When you lead with humility, you invite others to step up, share their perspectives, and contribute to the vision. You create an environment where everyone feels empowered to lead, regardless of their title or position. This inclusivity strengthens the team as a whole, as it fosters a sense of ownership and accountability among all members. By serving first, you also create opportunities for others to lead. Leadership is not a limited resource, but something that can be shared. When you serve others, you allow them the space to step up and take on leadership roles themselves. You become a mentor, a guide, and a facilitator, helping others develop their skills, confidence, and sense of purpose. This empowers the entire team to take ownership of the mission and work together toward a common goal. As you serve, you nurture the growth of others, and in doing so, you expand the reach of leadership beyond yourself. When you're not in charge, serving before you lead also means accepting that sometimes your contributions may go unnoticed. This can be difficult, especially in a world that often prioritizes visibility and recognition. However, serving others with a genuine heart means that your impact isn't measured by the applause or accolades you receive, but by the difference you make in the lives of others. This long-term, behind-the-scenes approach to leadership builds a legacy of trust, respect, and influence that lasts far longer than any title or position ever could. In the end, serving before you lead is about putting others' needs before your own, fostering collaboration, and creating a culture of mutual respect. It's about demonstrating that leadership is not about power, but about serving with humility, empathy, and a focus on the collective good. This mindset is the true essence of leadership, and it's a mindset that anyone can adopt, whether they are in charge or not. When you serve first, you inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of leadership that spreads throughout the organization, the community, or the world. Lead by example, not by command. This principle is perhaps the most critical aspect of leadership, particularly when you're not in charge. It challenges the traditional view that leadership is about giving orders, making decisions, or having the authority to tell others what to do. True leadership, however, is about how you show up every day, the example you set, and the actions you take, whether anyone is watching or not. When you lead by example, you demonstrate the values, behaviors, and work ethic that you expect from others. You don't just talk about what's important, you embody it. You show people through your actions what it means to work with integrity, dedication, and passion. This kind of leadership doesn't rely on a title or position of power. It's rooted in personal responsibility and accountability. No, people naturally follow those who lead by example because they trust that the leader's actions align with their words. It creates a culture of respect, where individuals are motivated not by fear of authority, but by a desire to live up to the example set by their leader. One of the most powerful aspects of leading by example is that it builds credibility. When you walk the walk instead of just talking the talk, you gain the respect of those around you. Actions always speak louder than words, and people are more likely to follow someone whose behavior reflects the values they preach. If you want others to demonstrate dedication, you must first show them what dedication looks like in action. If you want others to take responsibility, you must first hold yourself accountable. If you want others to show compassion and respect, you must lead with those qualities in every interaction. By modeling the behavior you expect, you set a standard for others to follow. Leading by example also means being consistent. Consistency is crucial because people need to know that the behaviors and values you demonstrate today will be the same tomorrow. Leadership that's based on command and authority often lacks consistency, as decisions are made based on personal preference or circumstance rather than core principles. But when you lead by example, you show others that your actions are guided by a steady commitment to your values, regardless of the situation. This consistency builds trust and allows others to feel confident that they can rely on you. It creates a sense of stability and predictability that fosters a positive, productive environment. Another important aspect of leading by example is humility. Leading by command often comes from a place of ego or pride, where the leader feels the need to assert control or show their superiority. But leading by example comes from a place of humility, acknowledging that you don't have all the answers, that you are human, and that you can make mistakes. When you show vulnerability and humility, you create an atmosphere where others feel comfortable making mistakes too, where they can learn, grow, and improve without fear of judgment. This openness encourages growth and fosters a culture where everyone feels empowered to contribute and take ownership of their work. Leading by example also involves being proactive. Leadership isn't just about reacting to challenges as they arise. It's about anticipating problems and taking the initiative to address them. When you step up and take action before you're asked, you show others the importance of initiative and foresight. You demonstrate that leadership is not about waiting for someone to tell you what to do, but about taking responsibility and doing what's necessary to move the team or organization forward. This proactive mindset encourages others to think for themselves and take action, fostering a culture of independence and empowerment. Furthermore, when you lead by example, you inspire others to take ownership of their own leadership. True leadership isn't about making others dependent on you. It's about encouraging them to lead in their own way. When you demonstrate the qualities of a great leader, such as honesty, hard work, resilience, and empathy, you show others what's possible. You give them a model to follow, not because they have to, but because they want to. Your example motivates them to step up, take initiative, and lead in their own capacity. This creates a ripple effect where leadership becomes a shared responsibility, not something that resides solely in the hands of one person. Leading by example is especially powerful when you're not in charge because it allows you to have influence without authority. People may not always listen to what you say, but they will pay attention to what you do. When you demonstrate the behaviors and attitudes you want to see in others, you become a powerful force of influence. You don't need a title to inspire others to action. All you need is the willingness to show up and lead through your actions. Whether you're in a meeting, collaborating on a project, or simply interacting with your colleagues, you have the opportunity to lead by example at every turn. Leading by example also requires resilience. It means staying committed to your values and principles, even when things get tough. When faced with challenges, a leader who leads by example remains focused, calm, and determined. They don't give up or abandon their team when things get difficult. Instead, they persevere, showing others that challenges are an opportunity for growth, not an obstacle to success. This resilience helps build a culture of perseverance and determination, where people don't quit when things get hard, but instead find ways to push through and succeed together. Finally, leading by example requires self-awareness. You must be aware of the impact your actions have on others and how your behavior shapes the culture around you. Leadership is not just about doing the right thing. It's about doing the right thing in a way that inspires others to do the same. You must be conscious of how your actions, words, and attitudes affect the team and the environment. Self-awareness helps you lead with intention and ensures that you are setting the right example for others to follow. In the absence of formal authority, leading by example becomes the most powerful tool for influence. It shows that leadership is not about position or power, but about the choices you make every day. When you choose to lead through your actions, you inspire others to follow, not because they have to, but because they want to. Through consistency, humility, proactivity, and resilience, you create a culture of shared leadership where everyone is empowered to step up and make a difference.